call it. We had them form this bloc in the run up to the last presidential election in 2022 and then the parliamentary polls. Now there are a lot of divisions between members, particularly with the far left. France Unbowed, its leader, Jean-Luc Melenchon, is a divisive figure here in this country. And then, of course, we've seen the war in Gaza. They have used it as their rallying cry. Yesterday, Emmanuel Macron even sort of alluded to the fact that there were anti-Semitic tendencies within that party. Is that fair to say?
No, it's not. I mean, one can agree or disagree with the position of Jean-Luc Melenchon and his party on Gaza and on the question of anti-Semitism in France. But to claim that Jean-Luc Melenchon and his followers are anti-Semitic is a propaganda. I mean, the only way to claim this is to say that any critique of Israel or on Zionism is per se anti-Semitic. And this is not proven. A lot of Jews criticize Israel.
But I want to ask you about that because yesterday we had Emmanuel Macron who gave that speech, and he spent, in my opinion, more time talking about the dangers of the far left than the far right.
Yes, because I think that the most the biggest danger for the president is that if the left and the far left within the left, this popular front, makes it well in the first round, there will be only a few candidates of the presidential coalition in the second round. I don't think that he can win people from the far right party, but he could win people from the Socialist Party, voters of the Socialist Party, who could be dissatisfied by the Popular Front united with La France Insoumise.
I want to ask you about Emmanuel Macron's bet, because yesterday he seemed to suggest that he dissolved parliament because he wants to keep the far right away from the Élysée Palace when the next presidential vote comes in 2027. He is banking on the fact that if the far right comes out on top once these parliamentary polls are done, that they will do a bad job. Is that a risky bet? Because we've seen over in Italy, for instance, where we have a far right Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, and she's not really messing up that much.
This is why, you see, it is a very dangerous bet. This said, there is a difference between Meloni and Le Pen, namely that Meloni, before to get elected as a prime minister in Italy, could rest on big numbers of local governments with an experience of government at various levels. This is not the case with the National Rally, which will not be able to be supported by local governments, which has no real experience in governing. So it will be a tough job. This said, one never knows.
I want to ask you about Jordan Bardella, because this is, of course, the National Rally's candidate for the Prime Minister's post. Marine Le Pen has ruled out being Prime Minister if the far-right were to come out on top. Why does Jordan Bardella have this appeal, particularly among young French people?
He's young.
He's 28.
Yes, he speaks well. He comes from the suburbs in north from Paris. And to some extent, he also knows perhaps much better what the life of ordinary people is compared to, say, President Macron and the political governing class. This said, he also plays on the fears of a lot of people in France who have a feeling of decay, of fear. And I mean, he's a good politician, one could say, in his own direction.
Do you fear that the far right is being normalized here in France?
Oh, yes, this is for sure.
I mean, the fact that we have Éric Ciotti sitting down for lunch with Jordan Bardella goes to show it has been normalized.
Yes, and we have to say that this is not an isolated evolution. We can see this with far right in the US with Donald Trump, in Brazil with Bolsonaro, in Italy with Meloni. So we have a general trend.
Can I ask you about Meloni? Because of course the G7 is underway, and unlike the far right here in France, she has managed to sing from the same song sheet as most other Western nations when it comes to supporting Ukraine. Is that what has made her palatable and acceptable for most Western leaders?
I think so, because on societal issues such as
Abortion.
abortion, a traditional view on family, and so on, she is more far away from the liberal camp than Marine Le Pen, who is not opposed to gay people, who doesn't defend a
But
traditional family.
the fear is with the far right, they don't say what their actual program is, what they really think until they really come to power, and then they start chipping away at freedoms that exist, right?
Yes, but I mean, the programs are made to get people vote for them. But we all know that programs are not often respected once the politicians are elected. So this is right also for the national rally.
Yves Sintomer, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.